Mercedes, since rejoining F1, have had some pretty heavy duty, big shot sponsors. Petronas, Tommy Hilfiger, INEOS. Wait, what?
Hold up. Wait a minute.
INEOS? This was probably similar to the reaction that you had when it was announced that the British chemicals company with an estimated asset value of $39 billion, yeah, that's right, $billion, were announced as the main sponsor for the team. Until Eddie Jordan did what Eddie Jordan does so well when he said that INEOS were making moves to actually buy the Mercedes F1 team. In this occasion, he wasn't completely right. INEOS now actually own a third of the Mercedes F1 team, so that transition could be doable. I think they've got much bigger ambitions than most of the main sponsors on the grid, to the extent that it's actually got them into a little bit of legal trouble. But what are they actually up to? Welcome to the Racing House. My name is Sakki. Keep watching to find out why I think INEOS will be making some huge moves in the motorsport industry, the motoring industry, and why INEOS are like no other F1 main sponsor.
In the case of the Mercedes Formula One team, they have a very similar attitude and spirit to the INEOS people. We don't like arrogance, we don't like bullies, we don't like the I word, and it worked seamlessly.
INEOS definitely have cash to spare. They easily have the capacity to do what they want when they want. But what makes me say that Eddie Jordan could be right in the long term, and makes me say that they'll be having more of a proactive say and involvement in the motorsport industry. To really understand this, we need to look at where INEOS came from and how they actually earned all their coin. We really need to follow the money, so I think we've got some investigating to do. So let's throw it back. The year is 1992, 39 drivers took part in the season that year, and Nigel Mansell secured the Drivers' Championship that year, securing 9 wins in the process. And most importantly, Sir Jim Radcliffe went on to found a company that would later be known as INEOS. But where did he get the funding to finance a chemicals company? Surely you'd need quite a bit of cash. Well, after amassing his wealth as a director for a private equity firm, he and his partner bought out the chemical part of BP's business. And so it went on. Between 1998 and 2008, he continued to buy up commodity chemical businesses, and his growth and success has gone so well that he's ended up being Britain's richest man. To see what impact INEOS are having, we need to look at one of the projects they're working on, the GRENADIER. This is an off-road utility vehicle that is meant to be available from 2022, and it does remind me of the original Land Rover Defender. So the fact that it's similar, it means that it must be fine, right?
Something ain't right.
Well, apparently not, because Jaguar Land Rover, the company that produced the original Land Rover Defender, actually filed a lawsuit against INEOS and Jim Radcliffe for copying their design. I mean, it's clearly not a copy or infringing on their intellectual property, but there is more to this story. INEOS really wanted to make this 4x4 off-road vehicle, but Land Rover wanted to stop producing it, and in fact they have stopped producing it. INEOS went to the extent to contacting Land Rover to ask if they could have the rights to manufacture the car, and Land Rover said no. They didn't approve it, but INEOS just really did want to make it, so they went about creating their own alternative version, hence the Grenadier and how they ended up in court. But here's where it gets really bad. Jaguar Land Rover never actually trademarked the design for the Defender.
Oh, really? That sucks.
So this created an opportunity for INEOS to come and make their own version, which turns out to be very similar to the Defender. And they've been able to do it legally because they actually won the court case that came out of that lawsuit. And INEOS's expansion doesn't just stop at building their own cars. They've actually gone into sport as well. With that being said, one thing that really stands out for me is the similarities between INEOS and Red Bull. So what are these similarities, I hear you asking? They have been pioneers in the marketing space, going from sponsoring motorsport teams to eventually owning their own sports teams. Red Bull also have team owners that have an almost endless supply of money, and I see INEOS mirroring what Red Bull have done by owning teams, having an increased say in how the brand comes across, which allows them to push the products that they own. INEOS now have an extremely strong sporting presence. Their owner, Sir Jim Radcliffe, has a taste for acquiring sports team, rebranding them as Team INEOS or something similar, and then using them as a vehicle, excuse the pun, to market his own brands, namely INEOS. Jim Radcliffe owns Swiss football club FC Lausanne Sport, French football club OGC Nice, INEOS Sailing Team UK, and INEOS Grenadiers Cycling, which is, as you can tell, the same name as their car, which I spoke about earlier. So in total, that's 4 teams and a 1/3 ownership in the Mercedes F1 team. So in a couple of years, I can see how Eddie Jordan may actually be right. So given all this information, what can we expect expect from INEOS. Given the similarities that I see between them and Red Bull, I imagine that they're going to continue to buy up more and more brands. Maybe not in the same areas. There is the possibility that they will continue to increase their sponsorship in other motorsport teams, in other categories, but I imagine that they will probably acquire companies that offer products at a much lower price point. This will allow them to plaster the INEOS branding all over the products of those companies that they've just acquired and allow INEOS to become more of a household name. Given the fact that Eddie Jordan does like predicting the future, he's got it right multiple times in the past. Jordan was the first person to report that Michael Schumacher would be making a return to F1, joining Mercedes. He also broke that Lewis Hamilton would be leaving McLaren to join Mercedes after Schumacher's second retirement. And then he also announced that David Coulthard had been elected as the president for the BRDC, and he's super well connected in the industry. And when he says stuff, there is a firm reason why he comes out to say it. And given INEOS's behaviour in the past, namely the way they have actually grown, acquiring company after company after company, don't expect there to be a limit in terms of what they will do in motorsport, because like I told you, they've got the resource and the finance there to be able to do it successfully. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them take an even larger stake in the Mercedes F1 team, and maybe even a controlling stake. This will see a less prominent role for people like Toto Wolff, but it wouldn't be a surprise because he's warned us quite a bit in the past few seasons. Toto moving on or into a different role is something that we're expecting. And like I said, with INEOS's history of acquisition, they'd be the perfect partner to make that easy transition because they already have an active interest in the team. They'll know about the business. It'll be a fairly easy and simple transition. Along with this, it would also have a good level of synergy with their other business, the Grenadier. The plan is with the Grenadiers for BMW to supply the engine, but with their increased relationship and ties with Mercedes, why not have Mercedes providing the engines for the Grenadiers as a way to reduce costs for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his companies? A more active role in F1 and some other racing categories would be a logical way for them to progress and grow their car company. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I really do want to hear from you. So that just about finishes off my video about why I think INEOS are not like any other main sponsor that we've seen in F1 before, and why they'll be aiming to make big moves in the motoring and motorsport industry to become more of a household brand name. I really do hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time everyone, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe and hit that notification bell to ensure that you get all my latest videos.